Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Higher Ground Project. Now, this is the podcast for job seekers, career navigators, and really anyone who's trying to rise above the noise in today's crazy job market. I'm David Peterson.
And I'm Doug Kimball. And if you're one of those people sending out resumes after resume after resume and your cover letters, and you're hearing nothing back but digital crickets, know that you are not alone. You're not crazy either.
So, this podcast is all about pulling back the curtain on the job search and giving real people a real voice. So, every week we're talking with somebody who's in the middle of it all, job hunting, reinventing, and really figuring it out in real time.
And we're here for some unfiltered stories. We've heard some crazy ones so far. We're here to hear the honest frustrations and, most importantly, those small wins that help us to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has a crazy story at this point. But before we dive in, we do want to thank our sponsor, Think Strategic Alliances, who's not just supporting the show, but this company is also helping amplify fractional marketing talent across many different industries. And every single guest on the Higher Ground Project will be featured on their portfolio page. And hopefully this will help them gain some visibility with companies looking for some real standout talent.
And today's guest, I'm really excited because this is somebody I've known for a while, but he really blends an entrepreneurial spirit with a corporate mindset and marketing background. His journey really kind of highlights the challenges, especially his career journey, of staying ethical while trying to stay employed in today's workplace. So I'm very excited to welcome Ed LeMonnier to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
So glad you're here, Ed. Thanks for joining us today. Now, Ed, everybody, is a seasoned marketing business. I'm going to start that over again. So Ed is a seasoned marketing business strategist with nearly 2 decades of experience. He's also the founder of Frequency Martial Arts, and this is a business that he's used as both a training ground and a launch pad for marketing acumen.
And what's cool about Ed is that his superpower, one of the things I look at, is real world experience. He's not just reading from a textbook and getting ideas from that. He's taking and using strategies that he has directly used to increase awareness and drive basic revenue for other business owners as well as for his own business.
Unfortunately, though, just like many, many, many of us, Ed's job search has not been easy. So between age bias, unethical management practices, and really a flood of questionable job postings. I mean, there's so many ghost postings now. He's really had to stay sharp and stay resilient here.
So Ed, formally, welcome to the Higher Ground Project.
Well, hey, guys, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for being here, Ed. So let's just kick it off. Every episode, we start with the same first segment. It's called Clear the Pipes. So no buzzwords, no filters, no marketecture, just really a chance to vent. So Ed, the floor is yours. What has been the hardest part of your job search?
The hardest part is trying to decipher who's really hiring online. You have all these different platforms to use. You know, some of them are free, some of them you got to pay for, and then you got to question yourself, is the investment that I'm making for this paid job search really going to pay off? And the frustrating thing is, you know, I've been in marketing for, over 20 years. And like Doug had mentioned, you know, I used the marketing tactics for my business to grow, to make it successful, especially after COVID, and letting other business owners, they could do the same thing. So when I was looking for a job, everyone was looking for someone with 1 to 2 years experience, or the position that they were looking for could be really 5 different people. You know, I'm looking for someone to handle social media. I'm looking for someone to handle digital marketing. I'm looking for someone to be a liaison, you know, for our team. And it's just like, you want one person to do all of that. And, you know, 3 weeks would go by, you'd get that email. Hey, thanks for applying to insert job here. We've moved forward in the interview process, and I just want to let you know you didn't make it.
Yeah.
So that was the big frustrating part, because, you know, it's while I own Frequency Martial Arts, and I encourage, you know, everyone who's watching this, if you have a passion for something that you could turn into a side hustle, go for it. Because you never know when your current employer is going to say, hey, today's your last day, and you have nothing to fall back on. Fortunately, you know, the gym is doing well, where, you know, I wasn't really freaking out like I feel I would have been if I didn't have that source of income. And it just kind of opened my eyes that, bet on yourself. It's always going to pay off.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And it's unfortunate you are not sharing a story that we have not heard before. But we're putting out there. You may be highly qualified, not over. We don't want to say overqualified, highly qualified. But unfortunately, you get that thank you, but no, like you didn't even talk to me. And it's just
Right.
and you also tend to be more on the ethical side, which I think is great. But that expertise and that ethics shouldn't cost you your career.
No, it shouldn't.
One,
And
one, oh,
one of the things that I'm big on is the fact that when you bet on yourself, you're going to see a bigger reward than if you are working for somebody else.
yes. Yeah, totally agreed. And you bring up a good topic that our other guests have not brought up yet, which is these insane job postings where, to your point, they're looking for like a jack of all trades, and then it's 2 to 3 years of experience with just the most insulting salary you've ever seen.
Yes.
And it just blows my mind that, I mean, it shouldn't blow my mind because this is corporate America, but that people really do think that they can grab somebody who's going to be super junior, but that can execute all of these senior tasks. I actually had a call with a company a few months ago where they were looking for a director of comms role. And really what they were looking for was like a comms assistant.
Yeah.
So they didn't have a salary attached. And so when I went through the job description with the recruiter, I said, listen, I can do all this stuff. This is a layup for me. I've done this at all these old jobs. And then she told me the salary and I said, oh, okay, you're looking for somebody right out of college. And it was really interesting to see sort of the cognitive dissonance that was going on with her because she truly didn't think that what she was asking for was a senior person, even though every single task was a senior level task.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, in many descriptions, I saw an SVP of marketing listing not too long ago for 110. I'm like, senior vice president of marketing for 110. Look at the job description. The job description is this long. I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. So Ed, let's spend some time talking about your world of genius. I mean, we know a few things. You've already talked about marketing. Let's just pick one marketing superpower for now and start that. What would that be? Your marketing superpower.
Wow. When it comes to talking to do new businesses, or when it comes to the business operation for frequency.
Pick one. I mean, you've scaled frequency amazingly, but I also know your experience. You've talked about your experience of walking into businesses and making them realize I should spend more to get more.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is like letting people know if your product is X, it costs X. How much are you willing to invest to sell 100 of those? And I'll walk into restaurants and the average bill is $35 for one for a couple. It's like, okay, well, you're only willing to spend $2 a day. You're going to go out of business.
Right.
And then the thing that really puts them at ease is the fact that they understand that I too am a business owner, where a lot of people are just going in, they're trying to get the contract for the marketing investment. They're out the door, and they're only going to call you if the check didn't clear. So when they see that you two are also operating a business and you're trying to manage your marketing dollars, it kind of helps put them at ease. And I told them, if I can't help you, if you don't see results in 3 months, hey, we'll go our separate ways. But you can't just be on Mondays, take the rest of the week off, maybe run an ad on Saturday. You just have to have that consistency.
I think that is a great superpower. We haven't heard that one yet, and I think it's really important to underscore this idea of real world experience. And real world experience can be pretty vague when you say that to somebody, but I think in this context, it's how to talk to people and give them a sobering reality of the future of their business, in a way that's effective and in a way that lands. And there's so many people out there who do not have this skill. And we actually had somebody on one of our past episodes who was talking about how one of her marketing superpowers is being harmonious within her own within the organization she works with, and that's a huge superpower because so many people just don't understand how to talk to people in an honest way that really resonates. So I very much support that superpower, and I hope that I can have it too.
And riffing on that whole thing is that resonating. You've engaged with people. You don't just when I've heard from you, Ed, you don't just walk in and say, "Here's the menu of things that you should do." I've seen you come up with some pretty creative ideas, and you've talked about these things. So let's take the next superpowers. I'm not trying to ask the question. How do you get that creativity? I've seen you suggest programs like, damn, that's pretty good. And I've been around the business for a while too. I'm like, oh, that's pretty slick.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know where it comes from. It's just one of these things where you're sitting there, and it comes from being around other people, right? And just hearing an idea that somebody may have, but they don't know how to take it to the next level, and you kind of spitball ideas off each other, and then you do that for 20 years. Now you're sitting there with all that past experience, all those past conversations. Now all you're doing is just kind of plugging in the different parts of the client and their needs. You watch something on TV and it doesn't resonate, and then 3 weeks later you find yourself in a situation where you're at a restaurant and the restaurant owner's like, man, my biggest problem I have is I don't know who my first time customers are. And as you're talking to them, it's like, well, what kind of training process do you have in place with your staff? Because when I was 16, the restaurant that I worked at, that was the first time I've ever experienced secret diners. The problem was the owner kept using the same 3 couples coming in, and one of them made a mistake saying that they were friends with the owner. It's like, oh, we got to be on our A game, because Ron's neighbors are here. They're going back and telling Ron, and it's funny that they only come in on the nights when Ron's not here. And you take that information and you plug that in. So find out a couple restaurants aren't using secret diners, or the cheat code of like a red napkin. That way everybody on staff knows, hey, this is their first time here.
Smart.
It may not be my table, but I see that their water's empty. Let me take care of them. And then that way the waitress knows, hey, I'm going to come back with an offer. Hey, it happens to us all the time when we go out to eat. We're full. Hey, you got room for dessert? No. Notice they got the red napkin. You don't announce it, but you're like, hey, when you bring them the check, give them a certificate good for a free dessert for the next time that they come in. Worst case scenario, they're going to come back in. They're going to be too full to get that free dessert. But it's something to bring them back in.
That's going back to what David was saying. That's that real world experience, that real world, that authenticity that really I think drives. You're showing value because you've either been there, done that, or you understand it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't want to stick on the restaurants that much, but it's a simple one. Every Christmas, they always do the whole thing. Hey, come in, buy $30 worth of gift cards for stocking stuffers, and you get $5 for yourself. Like, well, why don't you do that all year round?
Right.
What are you talking about? I go, I've been into your restaurant 5 times with 3 different gift cards, and I run out of my balance. I got to dig through my wallet, give the $3-4 difference, whatever it may be, and your staff takes my debit or my gift card and throws it away. I go, that's costing you money because I know you could recharge those. So why not offer me, hey, Ed, if you put $25 back on this gift card right now, we'll actually spiff you another $5, so you've got $30 on the gift card.
Genius. I've actually never heard that before.
Simple stuff. That's what I love. It's just the simple stuff that makes the big difference. That's cool.
100%. Now, that story was really compelling, and I'm actually going to think about that the next time I go and eat out.
Yeah.
So let's just segue to next steps. So this job market is completely insane, total disaster. If you could get one piece of advice from me and Doug to help crack through this market, what are you looking for?
Um, you know, like one of the things Doug and I were talking about for like several weeks was the resume. You
Hmm.
know, what has changed? I mean, up until the point that I lost my job, um, I never sent out a resume. It was always I graduated college in the radio program, landed my job at the station that I was interning for. My work spoke for itself. The competitors called me up and said, "Hey, we'd like to offer you a job." Okay, so no resume there. I worked for them for about 14, 15 years. The competitors across town said, "We really love the work that you're doing. Come work for us." Almost 10 years later, no resume. And then it's like, boom, you're done. And it's like,
Right.
okay, well, Doug, here's my resume. And Doug's like, man, all this stuff is related to the world of broadcasting. You know, recraft it so that you're showing whichever prospect that you're applying to what value you bring to them, not what you did 10 years ago, 15 years ago in the world of broadcasting. So I think that would be the big thing, is just helping people fine tune their resumes, especially like in the world of AI. You know, you can throw your resume in to polish it, but to have another human being, especially like Doug was saying, you know, he's been on the other side, he's been in the hiring process, and he can look at it, critique it, pros and cons when it comes to references. Because for a long time I didn't have references on my resume, but I'm thinking maybe that's why I'm not getting calls. You know, so maybe I should start putting references on there. And then I still wasn't getting phone calls, so then I sent it to Doug, and Doug's like, "Oh, let's blow this thing up and see what happens."
It's tough, and it's because a resume is our single biggest picture of us when it comes to a opportunity for hiring. You can argue LinkedIn and networking; those are all very, very important. But usually it comes down to show me a piece of paper, and I'll actually bring in feedback we got from two of our other podcast guests that were good. One said, constantly keep your portfolio and or your resume up to date. I mean, if you get hired tomorrow, I'm still regularly adding this stuff because you forget the things that you do. Oh, that great accomplishment, or I won this award, I made this thing happen. I'm always looking at those phrases I bring in, not that I did these things, but I accomplished, or I changed, or I moved the needle. So always keeping your activities and your accomplishments up to date is important. The other trick I had not heard before was going back to keyword. We've talked about keyword searches, which I get it. They suck. ATS, the applicant tracking systems. She suggested taking all the keywords that are in that job description, put them at the bottom of your ATS resume, highlight them in white font. Because then they get this big old list that's just sitting there, but they don't actually see it. But the ATS system will scan, see those keywords, like,
Wow.
that was pretty good for me. But the last thing I'll close with, again, because I haven't been a hiring manager many times, I hate to say it because I'm on the other side of it now. The first third of the resume doesn't catch my attention, I'm going to struggle to look at the rest of the resume. And
Totally.
so much effort has to be put in that first third, and really highlighting, hey, I'm here to be hired for this role. Here's the key skill sets I've got. Here's a quick list of accomplishments. Okay, cool. Now I want to dig in. If I'm not interested in the first third, unless I'm really having a lot of spare time and I've only got 10 resumes to look at, it's unlikely I'll dig into the bottom and see your education or anything like that. So that's my perspective.
And when I came back on the job market, the analogy that I've used in previous episodes is I felt like I'd been married for 30 years and I was back to the dating market, because it's completely different than it was decades ago. And so I was trying to navigate things without that expertise. And what I ended up doing, and I realized my resume was just not landing. And I worked with a resume company. I'll tag them in the comments below. They're not sponsoring or anything. But what they allowed me to do was I got on a call with a writer. I spoke to her for about 2 hours. She really got into the depths and cracks and nooks of my career. And then she produced a resume for me, to your point, that not only had referrals, but had referral statements. So, with baked into the resume, you see what the referral is and from who it came from. Right out the gate, you see that people are referring me, and they gave me not only a really pretty resume that I sent directly to hiring managers, but they gave me an ATS optimized resume as well, which is so important. To Doug's point, you can absolutely, I think that's a great idea, to cut and paste the job description or the keywords and highlight them in white. But really, what it is at this point with this job market is you have to use a resume as a tool to game the system. And I hate being as clinical and dry as that, but that's really just where we're at in this job market. A couple of the jobs I'm applying for, one has 3,000 candidates, one has 5,000 candidates. Like, to get to the top of the pile, you just need to do this in terms of getting a resume that is AI optimized and do exactly what Doug did, because when I started doing that, that's when I started seeing results.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's you have to play the system. That's the best way I can say that.
You do. You just kind of have to jump in and play the game with everybody else. But listen, Ed, thank you so much for showing up. We don't want to take too much more of your time. You spoke your truth and you shared some really incredible stories with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, and I just gained a couple ideas. I mean, I'm not a gift card person, but what you say, again, these are the things, and this is why I think this kind of a space is so helpful, is if you have one idea from somebody, spark something else in a conversation, that's important. Because right now, if you're listening and watching this whole process, you're probably feeling invisible in the career search. It's not fun. Your experience does have value. I mean, Ed brings, in some ways, a very specific two sets of skill sets, martial arts and radio. But his mindset around marketing, I think, is very powerful to learn from. So, like everybody, if you're watching this, you have a story. We want to hear your story.
Yes, please come and be a guest on the Higher Ground Project. We're always looking for great new guests. And really, we're not just here to vent. We really want to spotlight great talent. We want to share any wisdom that Doug and I collectively have between us. And we want to make a statement in a market that's really way too quiet.
Yeah. And remember, our whole process is being sponsored by Think Strategic Alliances. Head over to their website, check out their LinkedIn profile, learn more about their work. And there's other amazing people who like their profiles put on there. Ed's have a chance to put his profile on there. So we look forward to seeing you there as well.
And one last request, please press the share and like button, especially the share button. We're just getting this podcast off the ground, so we really want to make sure that we're circulating this to as many people as possible. And we know that a lot of people need to hear what Ed was saying today, or what Sherry was saying, or what Jeff was saying. So please share this with your friends and family. With that, Ed, thank you so much, and we'll see everybody next time.
Take care, guys.